additional questions. Okay.
Welcome to the News Channel 9 Stream
Center.
Center. We are about to do a press conference from Hamilton County where they are going to give us an update on the flooding situation that we've seen over the past 18 hours here in Hamilton County.
It has been a long 24 hours, but we do have some updates.
Let's listen.
And we do want to get you the latest information. My name is Amy Maxwell. I'm the public information. We have done today, and that
Thanks, Amy, and thanks to all of you. I've seen most of you already earlier in the day. Let me start by giving some context to the declaration of a local state of emergency, because I think it's important, talking to Dr. Robertson earlier, we don't want that to be alarming to the public. Obviously, we're all hopeful that later in the afternoon, early evening, the rain showers aren't heavy enough to cause more problems. So we want everybody to be on guard. But at this point, I would think of that declaration of a state of emergency as more an administrative matter than something that should cause alarm to the general public. What it provides for is both flexibility in terms of emergency response, purchasing rules. It makes sure that there are no barriers to responding to the flooding issues. And it also allows Hamilton County Office of Emergency Management to maximize reimbursement opportunities, same with other agencies responding. And so, again, I think it's important, even as the school system contemplates what they're doing tomorrow, that declaration, which will probably technically last 7 days, does not mean there should be no assumptions about what it means or whether there's a risk to the public. Certainly standing in front of leaders of Chattanooga Fire and Chattanooga Police, Sheriff, and you had a multi-agency response really quickly last night. We could see, in no time, from Signal Mountain to Dallas Bay, you had really all hands on deck, and even communicated with Dallas Bay's chief today, just expressing gratitude that even down into densely populated municipalities, you had volunteers serving really well. A lot of scary moments last night playing out on national television in our community. And I'd say after spending a couple hours in East Ridge this morning, as tough as it is and as saddening as it is that there's a loss of life, the damage to property and to infrastructure is not as bad as I thought it would have been based on the way things looked last night. But it was an incredible example of a multi-agency response. We get to see this often. Last night, the community saw in action both paid professionals and volunteers coming together to work alongside one another. And then there's a lot of work that follows up today. That we were out with TEMA and the Hamilton County Office of Emergency Management doing an assessment of damage, and there'll be more to come on that subject. But grateful for all the folks behind me, and I want to give everybody an opportunity to share their perspective. But being on the ground in East Ridge today, I was in part grateful that it wasn't worse than it was. You certainly got the feeling that another inch or two, 7 inches over 3 hours is historic, but another inch or two, and this would have been a whole lot worse than it was. For that, Amy, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. And now I want to introduce Mayor Kelly to give us a little update for the city of Chattanooga.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Let me start by just saying thank you to our first responders, to our police department, our fire department, our public works. Again, police and fire were out there, in some cases, public works, putting their lives at risk. And we can't thank them enough for their heroic work. Just some numbers. We had 100 firefighters respond to more than 50 emergencies and calls for assistance. I think Swift Water Rescue saved 35 individuals from life-threatening situations. Our police department, CPD, received 427 calls for service, including 114 reports of flooding. Chief Chambers will tell you more about that, I'm sure. Public Works was out, till 1 a.m. and back at 7 this morning, cleaning basins and making sure that the water could drain out. Again, I should mention that the community centers are open as shelters as well. We opened the Chris Ramsey Community Center as a shelter in Brainerd last night. It will remain open tonight. We put the Hickson Community Center and the South Chattanooga Community Centers on standby to serve as shelters tonight should more rainfall occur, although I think it's looking better now. So look, we're just focused on keeping people safe. You'll be reminded many times a day, but if you see deep water, please do not attempt to drive through it. This was a deadly event. Sadly, I want to express my condolences to the friends and family of the young family who died tragically in East Ridge. We've also been informed the body was discovered downstream of East Brainerd Road, which matches the description of a man who, unfortunately, unwisely maneuvered around fire department barricades and was swept away by a stream. We've not been able to identify his body yet, but obviously a tragic event. So again, we want to make sure that folks stay safe throughout the coming days if there's any additional rainfall. I will say that was the second highest rainfall total in the city's history, best we can tell. I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions about response, and we can address those at the proper time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. And then the mayor from East Ridge, if you would please just give us a little update for your city, please.
Ron Williams, Mayor of East Ridge. Again, like Mayor Kelly and Mayor Womp, we want to thank our first responders. We had several calls from residents that couldn't get out. We had some swift water rescues that occurred at some of the residents. We had, with the amount of rainfall that was mentioned, the damage, there is damage, but it could have been worse. We want to thank our first responders. It's been a great come together of the municipalities. We've had people that was actually sheltered that was able to get out of homes over to the Brainerd complex. Sheriff Garrett reached out last night. We had multiple agencies reaching out to help support us. We done an assessment with Mayor Womp this morning. We're collecting information. We're putting out a press release from East Ridge requesting all residents that's actually been impacted by intrusion of water into their home to get those documented so we can actually compile that list, see if we can get some TEMA and maybe some FEMA assistance to help support our citizens and our residents. So it's been amazing seeing all the collaboration from all the departments, and East Ridge is thankful for that, and anything we can do and assist in other municipalities in the county, we're willing to do so. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Now I'd like to introduce my boss, Director Adams, to give us a little update on where we are with our damage assessment. Sorry.
My name is Chris Adams. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for Hamilton County. Our role last night was activate our Emergency Operations Center, and we support all of these first responders. Without them, we really don't have anything to do. So we try to coordinate resources and manage them and get them everything they need to do their job. It starts with 911, it ends with 911. So they'll be giving you a little bit of report a minute of what they do. And not only do we have an event like this that occurs and everybody thinks about that event, well, the rest of the county and the city still have their emergencies going on. They were still taken care of as well, plus this emergency we had in these areas. So hats off to all the first responders. We have some of the best, I think, in the country. Area command was at its finest last night because it's such a widespread area. There's no boundaries. When the EOC opens, egos are checked at the door, boundaries are checked at the door. It's Hamilton County as a whole, and we're there to help everybody. That's what all these people do. It's not Chattanooga, it's not East Ridge, it's Hamilton County, and we're all there to make a difference for everybody. And last night was a classic example. We had 60 vehicles on the interstate at one time. People think, how can you drive in water that deep? Well, last night was unique because they drove in the water thinking it was fine, but as they were driving slowly through it, it rose. It rose maybe 2 feet by the time they went 100 yards. So everybody may be criticizing what they did. We all know to turn around and not drown, but when you look at it and it's 2 inches deep and the next thing you know, it's 4 feet deep, that's something you've never seen before. So our first responders were on the radio. We listened, we heard people trapped, saying the water was up over their windows. Chattanooga Fire was unbelievable, getting them out of the windows. And and Chattanooga police and the sheriff's deputies. Pretty incredible to listen to it unfold on the radio. I'm very proud to be a part of this team, and we'll continue to try to do that to support Hamilton County. But again, it's a chain of events and a cycle that starts with 911, ends with 911, and what happens in between with these men and women are pretty incredible. So basically, we're still doing damage assessments, as Mayor Wamp alluded to. It's not as bad as we thought, but we're looking to try to reclaim as much as we can and help people any way we can financially. So if we can get FEMA assistance, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to make sure we get out there, do those damage reports, and if any money's due to Hampton County, East Ridge, and Chattanooga, we're going to get it. And our main goal is to help people, and that's what we're here for. And I think that's what you saw last night. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Adams. I think we'll go ahead and have Chief Chambers from the Chattanooga Fire Department and the Hamilton County Sheriff. What did I say? Oh, excuse me, police department. It's been a long day. I'm sorry. And Sheriff Garrett, give a little idea of what challenges we faced last night with all the problems with the interstate and how they were shut down and trying to get all the motor vehicles out of the way and all the calls that you had to assist as well when it came to, your natural, 911 calls too.
Sure. John Chambers, Chief of Police for the Chattanooga Police Department. Last night, as what we normally get with any type of weather event, generally speaking, we have a decent warning, right? We have a general idea about what's to come. And I believe last night, it's safe to say, caught us by surprise. We did not expect, especially the gravity of what occurred, to hit us and then in such a short period of time. So we didn't have resources on standby. We didn't have a whole lot of assets standing by waiting on the thing to happen. So what we did, though, was we had men and women who are dedicated to protecting their community. And the fire department, police department, the sheriff's office, public works, that were literally out there risking their own safety for the sake of their community. They do that every day, but nights like last night is different. That's something where they're doing it hundreds of times in a very short period of time. Over 400 calls for service. And a lot of those we couldn't handle. The sheriff's office stepped in on the east side of the city to help out with that. And we were very grateful. Just like Director Adams said, it doesn't become a city versus county versus East Ridge. We are a community, and we are all here to work together, especially in situations like that. So I'm very proud of our response and the men and women that showed up. We did call in resources that were not working, right? We had the men and women that were already on duty out there working become overwhelmed very quickly. We called in additional resources to help out with that, and then also, of course, reached out to our partner agencies to address those concerns. Unfortunately, we did have loss of life within the city of Chattanooga. That is very early on. At this point in time, we know that it is a black male, and that is really all that we know as far as the additional circumstances around that. It is likely that he lost his life in the flood, but those things will have to be determined with the medical examiner at a later date just to confirm that. As more information evolves in that investigation, we'll be happy to share that. But I do want to thank my colleagues and the work that their departments did throughout the night. It was a tremendous effort by all. And we're ready for tonight. In the event something else kicks off tonight, rest assured that every single one of us will be out there protecting our community just like we always do. Thank you.
Sheriff Austin Garrett, I'll echo what Chief Chambers said. What you see when something like this happens is professionalism. It's seamless. And we get to see a side that you don't. We're in the operations center watching in depth what's happening. And when this unveils, we don't have lanes. Typically we do. Law enforcement has a lane, fire has their job to do. Last night what you saw was swift water rescue teams mixed fire, law enforcement, EMS, saving lives. Saving lives. That's our job, life preservation. Very proud of the job that's done in this county every day, regardless of the city limits or the county limits. The men and women in this county get the job done every day. And I'm honored to serve alongside each and every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Now I want to bring up the Chattanooga Fire Department's chief, Terry Nolles, to talk a little bit about first responders last night. bringing on Swiftwater Rescue, additional tri-state mutual aid agencies to come in and support.
Absolutely. Yes. My name's Terry Nolles, the fire chief, Chattanooga Fire Department. And about 2 years ago, we started a Swiftwater team program, and the Chattanooga Fire Department Swiftwater team was just accredited by the state this past June. So this is actually our third response for Swiftwater events in this area. And so not just with our agency responding in with the Swiftwater teams, but the help from all the agencies around us. We had multiple Swiftwater teams that were called in through Tri-State Mutual Aid, and just the cooperation and the just working together, it's seamless. I mean, we knew what they were going to do. They knew what we were capable of, and we went to work. We had over 50 calls just within the city itself. I think over 100 throughout the county of water related emergencies. And we had at least 35 victims that were either rescued out of cars or houses that we know of. And so, just like everybody's talked about, is the teamwork that within this county. Being part of other natural disasters that we've had over the years, no matter what it is, every one of these agencies come together, and like they said, we work as one. All our officers, all our firefighters, all our EMS, all our city and county departments all work together, and that just shows how much we care about our community and our neighborhoods and the community that we serve. Thank you.
Now I'd like to bring up Barbara Loveless. She will talk to you about Hamilton County's 911 system and the challenges that they had as of last night. Barbara?
Hi, everybody. I'm Barbara Loveless. I'm Director of Operations for Hamilton County 911. I think I can echo everybody's sentiment about this kind of we weren't kind of prepared for it. We usually have advance notice when we're going to have a major weather event, and that wasn't the case this time. So we weren't staffed up. We started seeing that there was a shift in the weather in the 5 o'clock hour, and it started to get exponentially worse. We got our initial word was that they were setting up a command post, and so we started our incident dispatch unit to set up with the responders at the Brainerd Rec Center, and that way they could help with evacuation and take some of that responsibility off of the main center. And simultaneously, we were upstaffing our comm center, so we had every seat in the comm center completely filled, and we were still getting a lot of telephone calls. We were getting so many phone calls that we had to prioritize only 911, and we were still had 911 calls holding in every minute of every hour for about 3 hours straight. Throughout that event, we had about 948 calls received between 6 p.m. and midnight. We created 885 calls, incidents throughout the city and the county for every municipality, excluding Lookout Mountain and Saudi Daisy. We identified 137 flooding events, 10 emergency rescues on the with water, and 110 hazardous events. Suffice it to say that I had an overwhelmed, stressed telecommunications staff, and they did phenomenal. They skipped lunch. They came in. They volunteered to come in today, knowing that the weather event could indeed escalate into today as well. And I feel like that they did a good job by all of the responders that were in the room. And so I thank everybody who was on the other side of the radio, and I definitely thank my staff.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, we really appreciated your staff helping us too, because they were an asset to us. And then last but not least, we need to bring up our Director of Education for Hamilton County to give us an update on why we closed schools yesterday and where we're moving forward for tomorrow.
Justin Robertson, Superintendent, Hamilton County Schools. Want to first say thank you to everyone up here, and especially Chris and his team. Every time we call emergency management, you guys respond and give us really good information. So I want to say thank you for that. Another group that hasn't been mentioned is our bus drivers. We run about 23 miles a day in buses, and last night they were taking kids home in some difficult circumstances. And we got every one of our kids home safely, thanks to our drivers and the professionalism of our transportation staff. Obviously, what went into the decision today is what everyone has said, is how quickly this situation escalated. Initially, we went to a 2-hour delay, and then within a couple of hours realized that a 2-hour delay may not be enough. I'll agree with what Mayor Womp said at the beginning, as our team's been out throughout the day assessing our buildings. The damage that we expected to see has not been as severe as what we thought. And so our buildings will be ready to go tomorrow. We're just going to continue to monitor the weather as it comes through tonight, and we'll make a decision later this evening.
Thank you very much. And I guess right now we'll open it up for a few questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I think, Chris, you had mentioned that there have been like 60 cars that have been stranded on the interstate. Can you talk more about just like the process of getting those motorists rescued?
We in the EOC are blessed with well, TDOT cameras, smart view cameras, and we get a real time. It's not a delay. So we could watch everything from the EOC just like we're sitting there. So we can relay the information. The law enforcement is right there with us. So we're getting all the real time information. They're getting it right out to their people with boots on the ground and getting those people out. We just left the cars where they were. That don't matter right then. It's about the people. That's all that mattered. And they got them out. Some of them walked down the retainer walls. Some CPD officers, I think it was CPD, actually were carrying them out on their backs. So there was a lot that couldn't walk through that water. So they carried them on their back until they got them to the divider and got them up on it to get them out of the water. So it's pretty incredible to watch how they did. And the ones that were going under, I think CFD, Chattanooga Fire, got them out. They were actually on the phone with dispatcher saying, water's running in, we're going under now, and we're listening. That's pretty stressful when you're hearing people say that. But they got them.
Yeah. Did you guys get any assistance from like the state, TDOT, DHP?
We were on the phone with the director of TEMA last night multiple times. Mayors well confirmed, and all the mayors were very involved with TEMA because we want to make sure that we do everything that we can to have resources ready. If we needed more from the state level, they were ready to send them. They also help us with the paperwork to make sure we do everything correctly for FEMA, because FEMA is pretty particular with how you file your documents after a state of emergency. So we make sure we do everything exactly right from starting with a state of emergency, declaring that. You want to make sure you get everything right. And we had their district coordinator in the EOC last night from TEMA for the Southeast region. So we have them, we're connected at the hip with them.
Also have like an infrastructure question. I think this is like more for the mayors. I know there's like a lot of concern about just like the adequacy of stormwater infrastructure at this stage, given just like the level of the flood. Do you have any comments on just kind of like plans for the future, just state like just whether or not the infrastructure was adequate to handle the level of flood that we saw?
I'll say that from the city's perspective, our store, we've done a lot of work. We've made a lot of investments in stormwater infrastructure. Considering that was the second highest, rainfall total, I would say the stormwater system held up remarkably well. I think there's a lot of concern about, whether the new construction on the interstate is sufficient, and we're talking to the state about that now.
Yeah, I think to this point, it requires a little more study to know what the implications of what's going on in the interstate are. The first question that I asked when I arrived in East Ridge this morning was their fire chief about weather, because if you've been around East Ridge a while, it's not the first flood you've seen. The opinion of some of the professionals in East Ridge was that this was not an infrastructure issue. It was an extraordinary amount of rain in a really small window of time. And flash flooding is not the same thing as flooding. But it's all worth study and scrutiny in days ahead.
Does this go ahead, sorry.
So in East Ridge, we had actually completed one phase of a multi-phase stormwater runoff infrastructure upgrade. So it had went from the middle of town all the way up to Kingwood Pharmacy. It used to be Kingwood Brothers, now I think it's a dentist, Dr. Crothers. And it ended there. And then we've got a next phase that's going up. So you've seen all the new sidewalks. You may have heard about people talking. Well, it was more than just sidewalks. We were doing stormwater infrastructure upgrades. And where we saw most of the damage was right where it ended in their next phase that we're going to take all the way to the tunnel then on Ringo Road going into the city of Chattanooga. So we are in the process of doing stormwater upgrades in the city of East Ridge. We just hadn't gotten to that point where we saw the most destruction in the road there right around the Osborne Plaza Center.
Anybody else? Yes?
Just politely asking, next time we answer questions, can we go to the podium so that the monitors?
Okay, yes.
Mayor Kelly mentioned the most recent victim and that maybe that victim crossed a barricade, and as I understand it, maybe the fire department witnessed that. I may be piecing things together incorrectly, but if anyone could offer insight.
Yes, no, we had two engine companies out that had the roadblock and had tape up trying to keep people from crossing over. And the crews that were on scene witnessed the party run past their fire engine and then disappear into the water. And then they immediately called. We had swift water teams in the area. We dispatched them right over there. They started a search and could not locate the person until today.
Next, anybody?
Question for you, Amy. Were you guys able to use AI tools to help monitor monitor flood levels in the Texas flood?
Use AI for
AI tools to help monitor the flood level.
Oh, well, we have actually through the Tennessee river water gauges that we actually keep on 24 hours a day in our EOC for those reasons. But this is one of those events where the river wasn't so much our concern. It was the fact that it was a localized flash flooding that was causing significant damage. And right then, our top priority was saving lives. Property comes second, but top priority is saving lives. Yes?
It sounds like most of you mentioned that this caught everyone by surprise. Will this incident create an opportunity to have conversations in your agency to reassess those protocols and maybe be more prepared in the future?
We work on that every day. Nature is not a perfect thing to try to battle. It's going to always win. We're never going to beat nature. But we try to be as best prepared as we can. Flash flooding is the most difficult one to prepare for, especially in this incident, because they're not saying this might not have been some engineers are saying this could be a 1,000-year flood, not a 500-year, but 1,000 years. So something, as Mayor Kelly touched on, that you just don't see. 6.5 to 7 inches of rain in 2 to 3 hours is just incredible. So isolated. I live north of the river in Saudi Daisy. I was outside with not even a sprinkle when this started. So Hamilton County, as large as we are, and flash flooding that happened like this, we're going to do everything we can, but I don't know the answer to that. We're going to keep trying. We've got all kind of AI tools that we're using right now to graph and plan for saturated ground, dry ground, 10 inches of rain, 20 inches of rain, because it seems like our climate, we're getting more and more of these all over the country. You say 1,000-year flood, but we're saying that a lot, when you look at our nation as a whole. So we're trying to find new ways, use all new technology to figure out any way we can get better at it. But as far as could we do anything different tomorrow? Well, we're here today. We can't stop it. It's going to happen, and then we're going to fix it after it happens. So that's our goal.
I know some of the folks who spoke up this morning in East Ridge said they weren't even really in a floodplain and were affected last night by this flooding. Just how much more nerve-wracking does that make from an emergency planning standpoint, knowing that an event like this can just throw a lot of crews plan out the window? Well,
those are wrench in your planning. But we've always said, I was at a national conference and a guy said a statement that really stuck with me. How many people here have flood insurance? And some raised their hand. He said, well, why do you not have insurance? I said, well, I live on a mountain. And he said, it doesn't rain on a mountain. Anywhere it rains, you need to be prepared for a flash flood. So it's difficult to plan like that in this event. Who would think that you could run a boat down 24 and then not be on a trailer? We would never have that in our wildest dreams. We didn't have it. Even in our mapping, we haven't come across that one yet. So very unique. And I just hope we never see it again.
Now, I might add just very quickly to the gentleman's earlier question. We are working with tech partners to use AI to look at if we can better predict stormwater runoff and predict these things ahead of time. That's going to take some years to bear fruit, but we are in the process of doing an after action report too. I do think to build on on the prior statement, look, the definition of a 10-year or a 50-year flood event is probably going to change or should change. And that's based on an anticipated level of rainfall. And this kind of goes all the way back to municipal engineering. I mean, they're designing to a standard that we may need to re-examine. Okay.
Let's take two more. Go ahead.
There's a lot of craziness happening. So, and with confirmation of the deceased man that was found earlier, is there anyone else that might be considered missing that's being searched for? Is there anybody else that could possibly be in harm's way?
Do you have any other reports?
Not that has been reported or that we've been made aware of.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question. Does this raise any questions for you guys about whether or not the project 924 is like appropriately rated for stormwater for flood mitigation?
I would just say it's too early to say. But I mean, obviously, we need to answer that question. I mean, we spent a lot of time and energy and money doing that. The state has, and it's all critical to the economic lifeblood of this community. So we're going to be working with the state to take a look at that.
I mean, it's a reasonable question, right? I mean, it's a question a lot of people are no doubt asking themselves.
You got one more?
Wide interstate and had water on it.
Given what you were saying about the 1,000-year flood, how it's becoming more common to say that, and you guys were talking about the swiftwater rescue teams, is there a plan in the future for prepping, possibly hiring more in that particular area to combat something like this?
Yeah. This is exactly why the sheriff's office created a swiftwater team, is to supplement the other agencies. So we're looking at everything that we can do. Like I said earlier, you typically think of people having a lane they operate in. So we're thinking outside of that now in a strike team mode, to where we operate together, either, full law enforcement or rescue capacity, and giving our deputies or officers the training to do these things. That way, if they're there, they can save lives. So that's why we're investing in that advanced training. I know the chief's department is, and the other municipalities are. Because like I said, when something like this happens, you depend on each other. And whether we're called to Salty Daisy, whether we're called to Atchison, we're called to East Ridge, we're coming and bringing everything we've got with us. And we're coming to save lives. So that is exactly why the sheriff's office, and I think I can speak for the other agencies, are expanding the training and building these teams out. And we're doing this training together. As the chief said, your third rescue.
Yes.
So ours was accredited about 3 weeks ago. The day that they certified, they saved lives in another county that they were in finishing their training. This was our second deployment. So it shows how important and how valuable it is. So.
Thank you, Sheriff. And that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody coming today. It's possible, depending on the weather, we will be sending out additional information possibly tonight to give you any updates. If there's anything that's coming from, whether it's coming from 911 or Chattanooga Police, Chattanooga Fire, or our Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, they will let us know, and we will provide that information to you all later. Thank you very much for coming.
Hey guys, all the updates that we have will be on our Facebook page. So if you just follow that tonight, anything we have will be on it.
Flooding can do or can result in catastrophic situations, especially when you get it too much all at one time. And we kind of had that perfect setup yesterday. We had rain coming in early, saturating the ground, and then all of a sudden you get one storm parked over that one area right there at the interstate, the wrong time of day, and the end result is all of that flash flooding. Again, we knew that amounts were up and that flooding could be a possibility with a slow-moving storm, but a 6-inch amount, no. Not even any models going to show that, but there's always that possibility that one storm parking over one area can do that. We don't see it that often, thankfully, but every now and then you got to be aware of that. And again, it's hard to prepare for. You can't. If you live in a flood-prone area, or at least you may live in a floodplain, you can prepare to some extent. But when you deal with flash flooding like this, where it's running off in all directions, you may not live in a floodplain, and you're like,
what happened here?
Yeah.
And that's the end result. So sometimes you can't prepare for it. And it's going to show where drains are clogged. It's going to show where it's going to go for the path of least resistance with the water. And that's just what we saw with all this video that you see here on the screen. We saw that on the interstate. We saw it across East Ridge on Ringgold Road, where it's cascading down Ringgold Road and in many other areas. So it was a truly interesting day, to say the least. And I was looking at some rainfall totals. We mentioned that the total for yesterday was 6.42 inches. All right, so we know that's a daily record for any August 12th in recorded history in Chattanooga, going back to 1879. But the previous record for an August 12th was 1.93 inches. So it shattered that record. Also, yesterday ended up being the second all-time wettest 24-hour period on record. You have to go back to when we had Tropical Storm Lee come through back in 2011 in September of that year. We had about 9.5 inches for that day. You had the overnight totals, about 10 inches for a 2-day total. But I was noting last night during the live stream that in that particular area of East Ridge, I had not seen flooding like that since I was a kid in 1973, way back. But I was 6 years old when that great flooding happened. This is the flooding that led to the creation of the Brainerd Levee.
Yep.
And I look back at the rainfall totals for that. It was a little over 7 inches over 2 days. But a week prior to that, in March of 73, a week prior to that flooding, there was about 4 inches of rain. So the ground was super saturated, didn't get all the rain, no Brainerd Levee. So Spring Creek, Chickamauga Creek just spread out. And I remember going and looking at Eastgate Mall. It was a parking lot, it was a lake. And people in boats traveling around, trying to get the cars. It was an amazing sight to see. But the Brainerd Levee has helped alleviate a lot of the problems that happen in Brainerd. And really the flooding was a lot worse than this. But as far as seeing it like that, I had not seen it like that since 73.
Yep.
It's amazing.
They talked a lot about these people that you see in this video whose cars got stuck on the interstate that maybe didn't intend to drive through much water at all, but as they were going through, it rose so quickly.
Yeah, it really did. And I don't think we fully realize it when you're going eastbound on 24, you are descending the ridge gradually. And then, it's like if you can imagine the boat chute at Lake Winnie.
Yep.
You go down and all of a sudden there's a little water, and a lot of water.
Yep.
And that's what's happening. And so once it's all funneled down at that area, it immediately rises really quickly and you've got no time. No time at all just to stop. And thankfully everyone got out safely from their cars. That's a scary situation.
And what are we looking for tonight as we go into the evening hours?
There's still some rain out there. So it may aggravate areas that are still ponding and whatnot, but not to the extent that we had last night. So overall, the message here is we're going to see decreasing rain chances as the night goes on. There'll still be some showers and thunder showers around, but eventually kind of winding down. Tomorrow, still some afternoon thunder showers, though not quite like what we had yesterday. It's going to be hard pressed to get what we had yesterday. But then overall, through late week and the weekend, we're looking at lower rain chances and higher temperatures. So it's going to be really hot this weekend. Temperatures in the 90s, but you got to keep in mind, once it starts heating up, all that water from the ground evaporates. It is going to be extremely humid this weekend.
Okay.
So not just hot, very humid.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for that. We're going to keep you updated here. News Channel 9 at 5 begins in just a few hours. We'll also be updating you on our social media pages. Thanks so much for joining us here in the News Channel 9 Stream Center.